Right here is Jaylen Brown with the ball. In other words, the NBA's highest paid player. I just hope he puts that money in a bank far, far away from Gary Payton II. Because watch here as he tries to pump fake into a drive and GP2 steals it off him with ease. But this wasn't a one-off. In the last 2 games of the NBA Finals, GP2 stripped Brown not once, not twice, but 4 times, including this play, which makes no sense. Payton expects the handoff, but Brown cuts backdoor, and it looks certain that he's beat GP2. Right? He recovers and rips the ball out of his hands whilst he's spinning. I said. This right here is what the Golden State Warriors missed last year. Not just a useful defender, but one of the best guard defenders in the NBA, which was a huge reason the Dubs went from the 2nd ranked defense last year to the 14th ranked defense this year. And not only is GP2 back, but with a full preseason, he's going to be healthy and hopefully doing a lot more of this.
Oh, Gary Payton with the flush. The rebound quickly up to Payton. Oh! Lee, nice find. Oh my goodness!
We need to start by talking about the defense though. I already mentioned it, but a big reason for the Dubs' struggles this year was their defensive fall-off, which had to do with Wiggs missing time, but the absence of GP2 was bigger than anyone seems to realize or be talking about. If we take it back to last year, there were 2 players that absolutely guaranteed the opposition team wouldn't score: Draymond Green and Gary Payton II. In the combined 2,900 minutes that either Dre or GP2 were on the floor together, the Dubs had the number 1 ranked defense at all times. And when they weren't on the floor, well, the Dubs defense dropped off significantly. And that's because you can't teach or acquire the skills that GP2 has. I mean, here is SGA, one of the shiftiest players in the league, blowing past Chiozza. That's not very surprising. But GP2 steps in and just rips the ball out of his hands. His ability to literally rip the ball away from opponents whilst they are moving is mind-blowing. Or how about this play? Watch here as LaVine has the ball out top. He tries to create separation going right, and before he can navigate the screen, the ball is already out of his hands and GP2 is down the other end, throwing down a reverse dunk. And this is what GP2 does better than anyone in the league. The slightest relaxation and he pounces. The moment LaVine readied himself to navigate that screen was the exact moment Gary decided to pounce. And it's a rare combination of skill, speed, strength, and anticipation that, again, you cannot teach. Don't just take my word for it though. The stats back it up as well. If we go back to last year, GP2 was elite across the board in both the playoffs and regular season at disrupting opponents with those active hands. I mean, you see the plus minus in the playoffs, but that still doesn't do his impact justice. When GP2 was on the floor in the 2022 playoffs, the Dubs had a 102 defensive rating, which would have been the best of any team. When he was off the floor, that slipped to 112. A 10-point differential. Yet despite this, no one is making any kind of noise about a healthy GP2 returning to this Dubs team. I mean, how often do you hear names like Alex Caruso brought up when talking about helping a contender? The Dubs have their version of Caruso ready to dominate again, and it's crickets. And he doesn't just make an impact on defense, but offensively, he's also a high-impact player in a way that is really unique for his size. Take this play for example. Right here is Klay Thompson with the ball. Right here is 6'2" Gary Payton II. And there's 6'8" LeBron James. What do you guys think is about to happen?
Thompson behind the back. Oh, Gary Payton packs one on LeBron.
Yeah, in game 1 of this year's playoffs, LeBron learned a very important lesson. It doesn't matter who you are, don't jump with the young glove. And when I say LeBron learnt his lesson, the 6 minutes left on the clock in game 5 of the same series. Wiggs drops it off to GP2. LeBron has a golden chance to contest GP2 at the rim. What decision do you think he makes?
Gives it to Payton.
Yeah, scaring LeBron wasn't the only role he played in the Lakers series though. Following the first 3 games, Anthony Davis was causing the Dubs all kinds of issues. With the Dubs lacking a real role threat along with some spacing issues, AD was allowed to camp in the paint and disrupt everything. That's when Steve Kerr decided that GP2 would turn into the little big man he is. Watch here as he sets the screen 30 feet from the basket. Steph does Steph things, drawing AD, which allows GP2 to slip in behind for the finish. Or in this play where this time Payton slips the screen immediately, and with AD out on the perimeter, he only has Reeves to beat. But what makes Payton so particularly unique in this role is, let's not forget, he was once a point guard. I know it's hard to believe, but that means he can also make plays like this. They run the same high pick and roll, GP2 gets it on the move, but has the presence of mind to avoid the charge whilst dropping an absolute dime to a cutting Wiggs. We've seen his cutting ability ever since he entered the league. Take this play for example where he's on the baseline, and the moment Davion Mitchell gets caught ball watching, he makes an aggressive cut to the basket for the quick lay. Or even better is when he cuts to the rim for a lob. Guards are just not prepared to deal with a 6'2" player who is attacking the rim like he's 7 foot. I mean, he's catching reverse alley-oops. Let that sink in for a second. And the stats back it up as well. Last year, GP2 was in the top 96 percentile of cutters, scoring 1.6 points per possession on cuts. And in the limited minutes this year, he was just as effective. Basically, if you find Gary cutting to the rim, it's a guaranteed bucket. But having him run pick and rolls with Steph Curry, leveraging the gravity of Steph, is something I hope the Warriors use again next season with a fully healthy GP2. But there's one particular reason that the Dubs really need him back. The Western Conference has a lot of guard talent. Wiggs and Dre are monsters at guarding wings or big guards like Luka, but the likes of Murray, Booker, Ja, and so forth are a job for GP2. Unfortunately, because Dillon Brooks is a clown, we never got to see a full matchup of Ja versus GP2 in last year's playoffs, but there was one play that demonstrated exactly what he can do. Triple J has the ball out top. Ja makes a back cut and creates a slight bit of separation before stepping inside to avoid Otto. But this is where GP2 casually blocks him from behind. I mean, can we just appreciate how difficult this block is? Ja is in midair, moving to his right, yet GP2 is able to track him with just his right arm, blocking the shot whilst in midair. That right there is supreme skill. This wasn't the only time these two matched up though. In a game during early January of 2022, Ja and GP2 had another battle, which included this play where Gary picks him up 94 feet from the basket. He proceeds to hound him the whole way up the floor, looking like a defensive tackle as he spins around this screen before ripping Ja and then out in transition. Well, he does what he does, going from guarding him 94 feet to then getting a bucket in transition. Those are the kind of defensive plays that elevate a team in the playoffs. Everyone knows what Steph Curry does to defenses. Not only does he obliterate them, but he gets in their head purely just because of how good he is. Well, GP2 does this exact same thing on the other side of the floor. We saw that in Game 1 against Memphis, with Ja panicking as GP2 forced a turnover off his presence alone. Now, if you want to hear about the future of the Warriors defense, click here. Or click here to find out about JP 2.0. Most importantly, have a good day. Bye.